This episode is not sponsored, but we encourage you to help support the small businesses, charities, and organisations that we mention. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Circle. I'm Jess.
I'm Rhiannon.
And today we're talking about change. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? My opinions, I don't think I've ever changed on it, funnily enough, about change, but I've always viewed change as a scary negative thing, which
It
has
is
been,
scary a lot of the time.
yeah, but it's definitely for me been, I don't know why, I've seen it as something negative. I like consistency, I like order, I feel like I don't trust something that changes. Does that
Okay.
make any sense? If something is volatile, if it's not linear, to me that is really, I don't know why that's untrustworthy in my head, and it sends me into panic mode.
But then it's interesting though you say that that isn't necessarily true always. Like you trust medicine, for example, like new medicine, stuff like that.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
that's change and that's something that's new, things like that, like the vaccine, for example. You were trusting
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
So I feel like some change that you think you might not be okay with, you actually are.
I think with the vaccine it was like, what
Yeah.
can stop the change and bring it back to normal? Cool, vaccine, let's go.
Yeah. Right. So that was actually like something to help with change.
It's more
Like
calculated than you think. No, I think change has always been scary, but I think in the past few years in particular in my life, I have had to surrender to a lot of change that was just happening. And I'm talking about life things that have happened for me, such as pregnancy, having a baby. I felt like I was a little bit out of control with that. So, it was just happening to me. My body was just doing what it was doing. And so I look back and I just I'm not mad at it. I think change is actually a good thing, but
yeah.
I only ever see that in hindsight for some reason.
No, but I think that's so understandable though, because I think for anyone who has anxiety or just genuinely feels anxious for anything or nervous, change is the unknown. And the
Mm,
unknown is not planned. It doesn't have order, like you said. It's not
yeah.
linear. It's literally not ticking any of the boxes of your requirements at all.
Yeah.
And the things that would keep most people calm.
Yeah, 'cause we've just recorded another episode where we were talking about uni, and I was talking about my final year, how I was like the most anxious I've ever been. That's when my anxiety kind of surfaced, I think.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was based around not knowing what the future held after uni and how everything else in my life had a structure. I knew I was going to school and then college and then uni, but then there was nothing was planned after that. And this is a really, I can't remember if I've said this before on the podcast or not, but I've always had this weird thing where I could never envisage my life after the age of about 18. Like,
Oh,
even
interesting.
like I not that I thought I would die, but I just didn't
No, you
never
just
had
couldn't
any
think any
plans.
further. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I could picture myself as like older up to a certain age, and then I just had nothing. And
Actually,
that was kind of,
I relate to that a little bit. I remember there was a time in uni where I was like, I think it was maybe, when you just get over the halfway point of your time at uni. So you're like,
yeah,
I'm actually approaching like towards graduation now, towards the end of exams and stuff. Fuck, what next? Because like you said, when it's with school, there's always the next thing to go to. And
yeah,
after that, it's literally all on you. Like you've got
yeah,
to get a job, you've got to decide what's happening next, your next
yeah,
thing in your life.
yeah. Yeah, it was a really sort of scary time. Interesting that you brought back the anxiety thing, because I think if you're someone who's maybe lucky enough to not be an anxious person, you
Must be
might see that as like
nice.
it must be such a liberating feeling to embrace change and
Right.
embrace the unknown and what's to come, and kind of reframing it as, oh, that's really scary, I don't know what's happening next. Reframing it as, oh my gosh, there are so many opportunities, like how exciting, I wonder what's going to happen next, is a really great way to look at it. And I think I've got a bit better at reframing it. I don't have a lot of change that's happened, I think, now. Like, I feel like my life is fairly, like, what's the word? It's just, oh, I was about to say stagnant. That's not a nice
No,
word.
like I think you're at like a steady plateau at the moment of like
Yeah.
no huge spikes in life events, because I think you had a fair share within the space of 2 years of
Mm.
huge spikes, as in
Yeah.
big life changes, big life altering change that was constant, and you didn't really get a lot of, like you said, your body had taken over at that point. Like you don't really get to control how your
Mm.
body is pregnant. It happens, like it happens how it
Mm.
happens. So that was a lot. You moved, like, you several times as well, job
Mm.
changes. You went through so much change for the amount of time that you went through it. Like I
Mm.
don't
So
honestly
now
know
I'm
how you
enjoying I'm enjoying the no change
calm.
right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe you're
Yeah.
okay with change because you're not experiencing.
Yeah, but also, like, for example, the work that I'm in now has really made me think back to, so when I was interviewing for the role, I
Mm.
remember being so anxious, so anxious. And weirdly enough, I got feedback that in my interview I was really super calm and I didn't show that at all,
You're
which
like,
I was
who's
like
there?
so proud of myself. I was like, yes. Um, but again, it's always in hindsight, I was like,
Mm,
I'm so glad that pushed myself to do this, because now look, I can achieve some things when I put myself through discomfort, and I can grow and I can experience positive things. It's not always negative change. It can be good things
mm,
as well. And now I'm in a role getting closer to, like, I work in a team that I can see myself being in, and a company that I can see myself being in for the foreseeable future,
right.
and I see opportunities within work. It's exciting to me now. So where I might need to put a bit of work into it to get to what I want, and maybe it might take me some time to, I might need to study a bit more to get into a certain role. That change is not scary for me
It's like good
at the
change for
moment.
you. Like you're seeing
Yeah,
them
I
as
see
good
it as,
changes.
yeah, and I think maybe I have a bit, maybe as I've gotten older and I have a little bit more faith in myself. I think I can be hard on myself still, but I think I've got a little bit more confidence that I'm like, actually, I can do that. That is attainable for me.
I think
That is achievable.
I think you've also got a bit of calm in yourself as well. Like I know I know we laugh and joke about this, but I genuinely think you do. Like you're not the same person that you were, especially before motherhood, is why I think that, I think you even said this before to me. I don't know if, again, if it was on the podcast or just in private, where you're saying how since becoming a mother, what once would have maybe made you anxious or upset or anything like negative, you don't even pay any attention to now. Like you're like, that really doesn't matter, like this is what matters. So it's
Mm,
reprioritized the things
yeah,
that you,
perspectives change.
yeah. And I think that's given you an element of calm to things, because I think sometimes when I come to you in moments of my own anxiety, you're such a calm rock for me because you're not seeing it the same way I am.
Right.
Like, and because I haven't got that, I haven't got that calm perspective that you have.
Or vice versa, like with my problems as well
Well,
that
I
I
guess
come to you
so,
with.
but you know what I mean? Like, as in, I genuinely see you as I know this sounds really funny, but I genuinely
It
see you as a
is.
calm
It's
person.
hilarious. I would never, ever, ever describe myself as a calm person.
I do, but I don't want people to also think that we're not saying that Jess is some like hysterical, like crazy bouncing off the walls person either. Like, it's just, you overthink, as do I.
Mm,
And I think that's the opposite to us of being a calm person.
yeah, 100%. How do you view change? How have you viewed change in the past, and has that changed over time?
Yes, yes, and yes. I hated change as a kid. That was awful for my anxiety, and it made me feel completely, what's the word, like dependent on things not changing for me to be okay. So if things changed, I was not okay. And I think when I got to a point, I've said it several times, I think on episodes, like when I was 17, that was like for me, that was one of my worst times in my life, just because my mental health was just so bad and dark. It was almost like that moment of finally letting go of change. And I think I then did like a 180, and all I wanted was, like, I have this sort of irrational, I suppose not irrational, but I don't like the word routine. I get really like ugh, about it, and it's
Mm,
because I don't like the idea of being so tied to being stuck to a routine where I can't deviate from change or anything. Is that the word?
right. What kind of, sorry to interrupt, as a kid,
Yeah.
what level of change are we talking that you weren't
Oh my God, if my
comfortable
mum was like, I'm going out tonight with my friends, I'd be like, oh my God, she's not coming home. Like,
with?
you know what I
Right,
mean? Like, it
okay.
would be
Right,
so
right,
many
right.
different things. And I think that's just because I was such an anxious child. So if something wasn't part of the routine of, say, mum coming home from work, like, oh my God, mum's not coming home from work, she's going out to dinner and then she's coming home. Like, that would really sort of,
Right.
make me a bit panicky because it's not the norm. It's not part of my everyday routine sort of thing, which is just, it makes me quite sad actually thinking about that, thinking that I felt so regimented, and the thing is I didn't have a regimented life at all. For anyone who's thinking like that my
Mm,
parents got me up at a certain time, and absolutely not. I was a kid who took part in no what's called extracurricular activities.
curricular.
Yeah,
Mm,
I absolutely not. That terrified me. I just wanted to be at home playing, like doing art, watching TV and movies, and feeling
mm,
like calm in my safe place. And I think there's a real sort of connection to me now sometimes like that. Like, there are times where if I just don't want to be social, I just want to be at home, like doing something creative or watching movies or just something calm. And I think that's because it probably reflects how I was as a child. Oh
Ooh,
like,
we're getting deep.
unlocking some things here. but but yeah, after that sort of period in my life where it switched, I think I've managed to go so far the other way in some ways, not absolutely not fully, because I'm not doing new things every day at all. But I think the mindset of fearing being consistent, I'm not very good at being consistent, if you didn't already know or couldn't already get that. Like, I
Really?
think, yeah, you've even said that about me before. Like, I'm not,
Consistent about what?
well, I think most things that I just sort of say, oh, I think I want to do this. I sort of half
Oh,
do.
like I'm okay, what comes to mind there is like the bullet journal that you recently like
Yeah,
spent
but there's
hours
been,
drawing up. But
yeah, but
I'm thinking of you as a person, like you are one of the most consistent people who are always there for their
but that's
friends.
but that's a trait for friendship. That's not a trait for, like, that's just one part of me. Like, I'm a consistent friend, cool. I'm not consistent with, I'm not consistent with working out. I'm not consistent with there's so many things I can't even think off the top of my head. I'm very inconsistent, and I know that about myself, and I've been told it many times, and I completely
Right.
get it. So, message received, universe. But I feel like that's something that
You're
I'm
kind of
going to work
consistently
on.
inconsistent then.
Yes, I've got it nailed. Yeah, but I don't want to be that. I don't want that. I need consistency. I need to be consistent for things to change. And I think that's the thing that Jess and I were sort of laughing about before recording. She was like, do you want change? I was like, fuck yeah, I want change. I'm so sick of like my current state, because I feel like my life's been on pause for so long. Just because I think the nature of the career I want, being in a creative field, in an entertainment world, as well as being politically active and environmentally active, there's so many things where I don't get to control any part of that. It's also competitive, it's also constantly changing, which means it's really hard for me to actually dig my nails into and stuff. And then also having my own anxiety that goes on top of it, and that just different fears that hold me back. And then we had the pandemic. There's just been so many different things that have either pushed, pulled, or put me on pause. So I think part of me is so desperate for change, but then the elements that I've just said, like anxiety, the pandemic, they've also caused me to fear a lot of change. So I'm at this weird point in my life where I'm forcing myself a lot of the time to do things. So, for example, going out on a weekend to socialize, sometimes that can actually be really hard for me because it's not been the norm for a few years at
Yeah.
least. And with the way that my anxiety's been, it's a challenge for me sometimes. Sometimes it's just the easiest thing in the world and I don't second guess it at all. And then
Mm,
other days I'm like, I'm going to have a breakdown. I need to actually coach myself to get out of my house and get on a train to somewhere that's not very far at all, sort of things like that. So
mm,
I feel like my relationship with change is again just not consistent. It's changing all the time. And
right.
I think I definitely like change or appreciate change, like you said, how in hindsight,
Yeah.
like I recognize after, but I also get really frustrated that change makes me feel like react a certain way. Like, I don't like that it brings out the anxiety in me. I wish that I could just go with change a lot more freely than like I used to, as opposed to now where
Mm,
it feels like a challenge or a struggle.
yeah. Do you feel like now that you've been pushing yourself that it is easing up a bit? Do you feel yourself with every plan that you make, is it becoming slightly easier?
No, I don't think it is actually. I
Really?
think it feels exhausting, if I'm being honest. Um,
Right.
I hope that that changes. I bloody hope it changes because I don't want to keep feeling tired from it. Because I feel happy when I'm doing the plans, but I think there's a part of me that gets really upset that I've gone through the mental anxiety and trauma of it all
Mm,
for something that I'm enjoying. Like, I'm going to do something that makes me feel happy, yet the process of getting there or sometimes even being there takes me away from that joy. And I that ruins it for me in some ways, not completely, but like I'll get home a bit, oh, I had a really good time, but I'm really annoyed that I felt this way at one point, sort of thing. But I think that's also me just being hard on myself, but I
definitely,
hope it
because I think
gets
we
easier.
we both keep saying that we wish we viewed things in a different way. Do you not think that if we were to accept the way that our brain is working and the way that we view things, because we are anxious people and we have to accept that. Do you think if we were less harsh on ourselves and just let it happen that that's
Yeah,
the way that we might ease up to
but
it?
I don't think it's like me being annoyed that I'm anxious. I think it's me being annoyed that my body reacts. Like, I react physically. Like, I think it's
Okay.
fine. It's fine to be anxious. I mean, my God, I wouldn't. I don't know how I'd ever live with myself if I couldn't accept that I was anxious.
Mm,
But I think it's the fact that my body feels so like tense or exhausted or sore or whatever. That kind of annoys me because I'm like, you were doing something fun. Like, it's fine. Like, you don't need to react this way. It's okay to be a bit nervous, but my God, like, getting this worked up for something that is fun, it that kind of annoys me. But
right.
I don't know how else to word it. But it's just annoying because I completely appreciate change and I want change in my life, but because
Yeah.
we've said, we're anxious people, it makes me nervous too. And I
Mm,
don't know how I'm going to be able to combat that in life. But I think back to your question of the more I'm doing it, will it ease up? I hope so. I'm just not there yet, I guess. I would
yeah,
like to
but
think so.
I love that you're still pushing and doing that. Like every time recently I've found that you've always got plans, which
Always. I have
yeah, I love
plans
it.
all the time and
I
it's
love it.
exhausting.
No,
Like,
but I just absolutely love it.
it makes me like, this sounds so ungrateful, but it makes me like dread my weekends sometimes. Because I'm just like, oh my God, I can't just stay in and watch a movie and like hide, you know? I have to be out again. But the other part of me that's like, so imagine I'm split in two. The part of me that's scared, the other part is like being like, yes, haha, we're out again, you're gonna be fine, we're going, come on, we're not staying this person forever. And I've got nothing wrong, this is no disrespect to like introverts or people who prefer to stay indoors, absolutely fine. But because I know that that's not going to get me to where I want in my life, I have to do these things. I have to go back to doing what makes me me, like whether it's going to gigs or just
Mm,
socializing in general. That's good for you,
mm.
it's good for me. So I know I have to do these things. I'm just feeling a little bit like still at the start line, I think, even though I'm not. Does that make sense? Like, I just feel like it's
Yeah.
still new.
Again, going back to the hindsight thing, when you get home after your socializing event, do
Mm.
you look back and say, "I'm really glad I went to that," most of the time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think even though I'm saying, oh, it would have been great if you hadn't been worked up, right? I've still had a good time, And I
Yeah.
think that is what's getting me to keep pushing through change,
Mhm.
pushing through doing new things for myself, because the end result outweighs the small, annoyances that that I experience.
Right. One question I want to ask you about change.
Mm.
How do you feel like you approach negative change? Like, for example, if you were to do something and you made a mistake, does it push you back or does it motivate you to try again?
I think it depends in what nature. Like, if it's in work, I'm not someone who gets upset. I'm like, okay, let me quickly fix it. I'm more like, let me think of the like the solution or
Solution.
the
Right.
like problem solve. I'm not really someone who gets like that, but I think when it's personal, I think it does set me back a bit actually.
Do you mean like in relationships? Like as in with your friends or
What I no, because I can't really think of an example of relationship and friendships, I guess, with that. I'm also mean like my own personal
oh, I see, like
choices,
okay.
maybe. Why did you mean it like with friends and stuff?
No, I didn't
Oh.
think like, "God, Ruth made so many mistakes with a friend. I hope she owns up to it. Here's the time." No, I had more in I was thinking, for example, with, not that you've made sorry, I don't want this to come across like you've
Go,
made
go,
loads of
no, go.
no, I think I'm talking more like, okay, you've faced a lot of, hurdles from being self-employed, for example. So, like,
Oh
when it
God,
came
yeah,
to
yeah. Oh,
like,
that type of work.
how
Yeah,
did
that's
you
different.
cope with that?
Battled with mental health for sure.
Yeah.
Like that really played into it. And I mean, I mentioned that in our previous episodes how that affected me. I don't know. I guess it's self-employment is a weird cycle of, well, at least for me anyway, the way that I saw it was like a cycle of, okay, you believe in yourself to do something, you start to do it, you don't necessarily get the results that you want, and then you try and tweak how to change that to get the results you want. But I
Mm.
think it's not the cycle itself that is the negative part. It's the amount of times you're going through it. How long are you going to keep going through the
Right.
cycle? It's like, okay, how much energy can I actually do? Like, how long can I actually stick this out for? How many times am I
Mm.
happy to be, pushed down and get myself
Right,
back
yeah,
up?
yeah.
It's like, right, how long can I do this for? Sort of thing. I think that was what was hard. That's like the negative, but I don't even know if that's considered change at that point, is it? Because no change is happening. It's just a cycle.
No, but like you said, it's like, yeah, it is change because you're having to change certain things within your
True. Like
business.
readjusting. That was
Yeah,
exhausting actually. Like constantly trying to be innovative? Yeah. Like
innovative, yeah.
innovative. That's the word. That's got way too many syllables in it for my liking. Anyway, um yeah, like constantly having to do that or be that. Because I think especially with art and things like that are creative, and I keep saying that over and over again, but it's quite personal, isn't it? It's like it's if you're trying to create something that's not necessarily a reflection of you, but that's what you've
It's a
produced.
product of
Yeah, it's
you,
a
yeah.
product of you. So therefore, if it's not selling or it's not working, that becomes a little bit personal because you're like, right,
Yeah.
I've now got to change something of myself. Like for example, there
Mm,
would be with the art business side of things, there are certain things that I did not like making but sold, and that really kind of pissed me off.
right.
Like I really didn't enjoy certain I won't say because I'll probably have to still make them. But like there are certain things that I don't enjoy making but they sell, and that is quite hard to accept, that the things that actually take you maybe longer or you put more of your time and energy into not being purchased, not being, whatever, that's quite hard to deal with. And I've
Mm,
spoke to so many other people in the same sort of field of that, and they say the same thing. It's really like a little bit soul crushing really, because you're like, ugh, like this is what I want to be making, but that's not what's selling, so I have to then change and do something else. So yeah, that's not fun. That's not a fun type of change.
no. But going forward, we are embracing change?
Oh,
We're gonna
for
try?
sure. Yeah, because I want change. I want change. I need change.
Yeah,
I
me
need
too.
it,
I think,
and
yeah,
it
to
is
grow and
good.
evolve, I think we need it.
Absolutely. Well, this is the other thing that I think I said this to you the other day. Like, I mistook. I can't speak on this. I'm so sorry, everyone. I mistook knowing myself. No, wait, is that the right way around? Like, I thought that I knew myself when I was younger, but actually, I was just happy. And I think I'm now at a point in my life where I'm like, oh, I'm really learning who I am, and
Mm,
I know that with that is going to come change and growth and stuff. Or to be able to grow, you need to change things. So I'm feeling quite excited and positive about that side of my life, because
yeah,
I'm excited to grow. I'm excited to be more than this.
yeah. And embracing change means embracing new experiences, creating new memories, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and all of those things are things to be excited about.
Definitely. And I
which
also
yeah.
I feel like for you as well, maybe you've also adapted to change because you have another life where you are watching constant change. Like Mila is growing every day, learning something
Mm,
every day. So you're witnessing change constantly. So maybe you're actually a lot
mm.
more used to it and immune to change than was it immune? Or like, you go with it a lot easier than you realize.
That's a really, really interesting thing I've never thought of, that I am experiencing change every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so, so interesting. That's given me a lot to think about actually.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what other people say. I feel like really deep diving into me again.
We've got some counselling sessions that we've got out of these. No, it's good. It's good to reflect, and we'd be so interested to hear what you listeners think, and whether you embrace change, whether that's the
A change.
change is
Menopause.
change. Oh my gosh, everyone, just play a drinking game. If you're going out, take a shot every time you hear the word change. You're sorted for the night. Well, maybe not a shot, maybe just a sip. A lot.
Today's dedication is dedicated to a very close family friend of mine. Her name is Bonnie, but she is known as Benita Yoga. Her website is yogawithbenita.com, and you can follow her on Instagram, Benita Yoga with 2 A's. She is a yoga instructor for beginners, for flexibility, mobility. She's based in London, but you can join her online Zoom classes as well. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can definitely join in. She's such a fab example of sort of embracing change, I guess, and helping other people accept whatever journey they're on through yoga. Yoga for me is such a calming, zen, but great form of exercise as well. And I think Bonnie is just such a great example of that and shows you how you can use yoga to sort of help with different things in your life, and building habits and all that sort of stuff, and sort of reflecting on our conversation about change. I thought this was quite a great fit. So please go and check her out, show her some love, follow her on Instagram. She's on TikTok as well. She does some really great helpful exercises and things like that you can do at home just to get yourself started, and you might find useful anyway. But if you want to take her classes, please do. You will not regret it. So that's at Benita Yoga with 2 A's for Instagram, and yogawithbenita.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please stream on all of our platforms, like, subscribe, share, and we will be back with you next week with a new episode. Bye.